Hi, this is Colin from Watch Off the Cuff. I'm coming to you from my shop in Milton, Ontario, Canada. Today, I'm going to run through bracelet blocks, which you would use to remove the links on a metal bracelet. A couple of uses for the bracelet block would be to, well, primarily hold the bracelet in an upright position. So we're going to put it in this slot, sit it down in there. And then we can drive out the pin, if it's a friction pin. Two kinds. One is the cotter style type, where it's literally a piece of metal that's bent over. It's got a loop on the end and then down. And then when you drive it in, that loop gets compressed into the bracelet. The other kind is a pin and sleeve. So sometimes, for example, if it was on this watch, there's a center link here. When the pin would be straight and there would be a little collar inside, so that we have the pin and it would sit inside the collar, inside the link. So that's a straight drive out. Now, also you would use a bracelet block to hold the bracelet. I should probably just demonstrate. It's going to go in, we'll go up, whatever, it doesn't matter which way we'll do it. It's going to go into this block like this. We're going to go down, and now it's held, and we could use that to hold the watch to unscrew if we had a screwed type bracelet screw, anyway, to hold the bracelet links together. So there's a whole bunch of options, and I wish I had known all the options when I started buying equipment. So the first thing is, if you're going to do it the easiest and the simplest way, you can buy a basic, let me put this back on for now, a basic bracelet block, which I have out here. To give you an idea, this is like the basic Hortec bracelet block. The code for this is MSA 10.501. That's from my shop. Shameless plug, all the stuff is available in my shop. But, if you're not in Canada, wherever you are, like Europe or South America or wherever, look, there's going to be, I'm sure, a supplier, wholesaler there, wherever close to you. At least let's give you an idea. So anyway, so this is $13.68. And that'll give you a basic bracelet block all on its own. So then the next thing, if you're going to do an economy, is that we need to have something to press out the thing. So this is my set. They're little bit things. I've beat them up really good. There's 3 different diameters. And then from here, we would now put this into the block. And I did a video on this, I think, in detail. I'll put it in the notes. Now that it's held, I can now set that up here. And then I'm going to take a small hammer and I'm going to drive out the pin. Just as a heads up, there's going to be an arrow inside the bracelet on one of these. It's going to show you the way to drive it out. Sometimes if there's no indication, it might just be a completely neutral pin with a sleeve, which it doesn't matter which way you pull it out. Sometimes there'll be a pin and sleeve with an arrow, and that's telling you the easiest or the most efficient way to get it out. So you've got these drivers. The nice thing about these is that the pins are very long. I'll talk about that in a minute. So if you wanted to get a set of pins, these ones run, a set of 3 like this, $7.50 from my shop. That's the MSA 10.508 set of pins. So we've got the block, $13.68. We got the pins, $7.50. And then, of course, what are we going to drive it out with? We got to look at some kind of watchmaker's hammer. So this is a brand new one from my very own shop. There it is. You can tell the color difference that this one's seen a little bit of life. A basic hammer, economy hammer, that's like $15, right? And I still have and use the same economy hammer day to day. It feels good to me. It's fine, So in summary, $14, $7.50, $14, and you are basically driving pins in and out of a bracelet. Say you're buying your watches online, or you're in a small jewelry shop and have to change the size of the odd metal bracelet. This will get you through. This is nothing wrong. I still use a basic block today. So the question is it worth buying this stuff? Or is it better to hold out for a little more money and buy like a set of something? And I'll show you the differences between the two. So we'll put this economy block away, we'll put those away, and we will go to the next step, which would probably be, in terms of a block that comes with a nice set of pin drivers. In this case, instead of having just those little economy, you got the shaft in there, it's got a little set screw, you just jam it in there. Again, it gets the job done. Or do we go to a slightly nicer version, which the pin driver becomes this. It's got a kind of a sprung end on there. And then you can use and buy whatever kind of ends that you want to go with things. So this particular set is the MSA 10511, and this set is $52. So you get these things. These pins, and some of them are quite fine. They slip in there. It sits in friction fit, quite fine. You can get replacements. And eventually these something's going to happen and they're going to break after like, whatever, after like 10 uses, 20 uses, 100 uses, 1,000 uses, they're going to break. So this way, you can just buy it, new ones. Ooh, it's in there really good, brand new. And then a nice thing about this one, it's got a blank too, which is like basically straight across, quite thick. And again, if you've got a little tiny pin and you're trying to line up tiny, it's kind of nice to just have like a block you put against it and then drive it into the bracelet. So that's kind of the next step up. So instead of getting the $14 block and the $7.50 drivers, you can, I'm going to bring this out, you can upgrade, so instead of spending like $20 or $22, you can go up to $52 and have this like much nicer tool. One of the reasons why I still encourage people, again, if you're just starting anyway, that if you are looking at getting getting like the basics or jumping, you're not going to go wrong with the $7.50 set, because take a look at the length. These ones, these cheap ones, have things, and you can get sets of pivot wire and cut your own later to the exact length you want and jam it in here, where this is like a set pin, right? So there's a collar on there. It's only ever going to drive so far in there. So the idea is get somewhere we can see both things. So the idea is you're going to get a little extra length out of something like this. So if you're like, you know what, I just want to get into it for like the $20 block and pin set and a basic hammer, you're not going to like wreck your life. Like this is more precision, but you might use this all the way through. And if you've got a really tricky pin, you might chase out the last little bit with something like this. So you're not wasting your time, I guess what I'm trying to say, by buying the cheap one. And I talked about the same thing when we talked about screwdrivers, where it's like, oh, should I get a really cheap economy set of screwdrivers? I still have, they're just right out of view, I still have my basic economies that I still use today. Now, granted, if I'm working inside a movement or I'm doing, whatever, an Omega or Rolex bracelet or something, will it go back in the hole? Yes, it is. Then I'm gonna be using, top of the line screwdrivers that are like really well honed, feel great, glide. Like, I mean, they're just like works of art. But so you're not wasting your time, I guess, by getting the things. I've gone on long enough about it, haven't I? Okay, so we got to put this block back, put this back. Okay, so the next question is, okay, we've got that set up. And what would be the next step? So the next step up would be, if you like this idea, and this looks really great, you're like, I want the nicer one, then the next step up to move from $52 to $85 would be to get this. Now it's got this basically the same set with a few more drivers, and it sits on a nice block. So there's like one left. At least they're organized. You can have it on your bench out here, and you've got a nice way to access it. I mean, you're going to be using a bracelet block if you're doing it every day, like watch stuff. You're going to be using a bracelet block all the time. So, like I've got, like, anyway, mine's out all the time. So anyway, there's an option also from Hortec. That's the MSA 10510. So if we switch over to Bergeon, we have a couple of options too. So this is actually from my things. I have this for sale as well, packaged up nice, but this is what I use. And this has got the similar type that we just saw to the Hortec, where it's got a nice carrier. Actually, the Hortec one is a little more substantial, and we can fit it with whatever pins we want. In this, it comes with starter set of some kind. Eventually, like when you break a tip, you'll buy a new set of 3, and you can just line them up in there again. There's a bunch of like, very similar to what we saw in the Hortec version, a bunch of different drivers to put in there. Now, the other question is, you're like, okay, well, why would I have 2 blocks? Like, why do they give it to? So, well, the reason for 2 is that, especially if you're doing a screwed, like, a bracelet, sometimes, because look at how awkward that is. Like, you put it in there, you can see there, it's like it's all flopping around. Oh, gotta go back this way. If I have 2 bracelet blocks, I can set up both sides of the bracelet, and now I've got a very solid surface to kind of hold everything flat while I work on it. So that was an epiphany to me. I mean, it's been years in the making, but I was like, why? In the beginning, I was like, why would you have 2 in a set? It's so ridiculous. This is why, because now look at that. It's all nice and set up, and I could work on the watch very easily in terms of the bracelet. So that's why you get 2. So if you were looking at that Bergeon, this Bergeon set is the 7744. And on my site, it's about $186. So again, we're going up and up, right? Welcome to the world of watches. Okay, so next in the lineup would be, in terms of a straight bracelet block, until we start talking about this stuff. We'll put this one away, and we will talk about the Hortec MSA 10.500. So now we're starting to look, okay, before we had the bracelet block, and you'd still need to have your own screwdrivers. I talked on the screwdrivers side. When I take out the screws on a bracelet, quite often need it with the additional barrel for the torque and control. So we haven't talked about any of that. This kind of solves both problems. So this has got the this kind of gantry type thing style. You put the bracelet in there, the bracelet goes in there, and now it's all kind of controlled with a driver, kind of similar to this. I use it, this is for setting hands, but it's kind of the same thing. It goes in here, you can drive it down, and everything's nice and dandy. The advantage to having the guide, kind of like a why is it missing? A staking tool, yes, staking tool, is that you put it in here, you hold the bracelet in, and you don't have to worry about the pin slipping in case the pin slips and you're worried about scratching the bracelet. So this kind of gives you the control under, like an aligned situation if you're worried about that kind of thing. The other advantage to this is that this comes with screwdriver attachments, and you can put in here, and if you have a screwed bracelet, you can put it in there, and now you have the control instead of trying to take your screwdriver and worried about, again, slipping and scratching. This provides a guide for you and could be more comfortable for some people. I have always just done the large barrel screwdrivers and put it in a bracelet block, and I've been fine with that. But if you find you've got a lot of volume on the screwed bracelets, then this could be a really good alternative. This is, to give you an idea, for the 10.5, this is $415. So again, we're going up, but hey, you don't have to buy a set of barreled screwdrivers because you got the control. It's got a slightly larger barrel anyway. You've got all these different fittings for it. You're good to go. Like that's could be a good option. Okay, so we talked about that. $415 for that. And we talked that would be really good if you had a lot of screw type bracelets in, coming through your shop. What that doesn't solve is screwed from both sides. And we're talking about it anyway, might as well get it out. We do have, there are a couple of options from Bergeon. For me, I ended up doing this one, which has got kind of a pin and a holder, and then you could do a screw on the other side. That's the 6670-S if you're worried about bracelets that are screwed from both sides and you want to hold it. There are, as you can imagine, like more expensive options on that front too. Anyway, that's an option out of nowhere. Sorry. It's a deep pit. Okay, so things that do the same thing but are not bracelet blocks. Okay, so this guy, if you're doing a lot of like sleeved or like that cotter pin, like friction pin type, the 7250 from Bergeon is amazing. I have to say it's amazing. I really like it. It's $785. But I've had mornings where it seems like everybody that comes in comes with 3 bracelets that need links in and out. It sits in here, and I did a separate video on this if you want to, but this floats up and down. So this center portion floats up and down. I'm going to do this so you see the pin. Floats up and down. You've got all this control in the world. You can change out what kind of pin you want, and away we go. The only thing, now I've got both. I've got Bergeon and Hortec all over the shop. But if you're thinking that you like the way that Bergeon does it, when you're talking about these kind of pin drivers, try to stick with one or the other. Like, try to stick with Bergeon, because the diameter of the shank side of this is different between Bergeon and Hortec. So I don't know, I haven't tested this universally, but by and large, I believe that's true. The stuff that I have, there's not a lot of interchangeability. So if you're going to do one thing, then get the one so that you can swap them around and whatever. It just gives you a little more flexibility. It's nothing worse than breaking a fine pin and going, oh, well, I have that in another set and it's doing something slightly different, and then finding out you can't use them and they're not compatible. So anyway, so this is great. Again, you have the up and down control with this back knob here. You drive it in and out here. There's a little secret compartment here. It's got all the pieces for it. I'm telling you, like, you just like rack them, stack them. They're like in and out, in and out. It's like butter. The one thing that sometimes happens, which is why you want a driver like this, is sometimes they can get bound up a little bit, and you're sitting there in front of the customer sometimes, or they can see it through the glass, and you're like, whack, 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 trying to get this pin to release from for the bracelet. And you worry about if you're whacking it that hard, it's sitting in here, like, am I scratching it? Sometimes, especially with a screwed bracelet, I will quite typically use a cloth with it, and then I'll put the bracelet inside with the cloth. I mean, these are pretty soft plastic, but you want to make it that the customer gets their watch back and it is like completely immaculate. It's like you were never there, right? And you wouldn't want even to know that you would scuff the watch even just a little bit. So there's that. So if you didn't do this, and I forgot even to look at this, where have I put that thing? So there is another economy kind of version of this from Bergeon, and I have it in the shop too. I just can't remember where the heck I put it. But you know what? I have another version I can show you, and it's the same thing, except the Bergeon one is in black plastic, and this one isn't. And you've seen similar ones before. And this is, I'm sure this is like a Chinese-made version or whatever. And then we have something like this, where, again, you can take, this one's like a flat one to like push it mostly way back in when you're putting it back in. And when you're driving it out, you just screw this in. It's got a little pin on it. Boom, away you go. So that can sometimes get the pin started, and then once you've got it kind of like broken away a little bit, and you can more gently tap it out. Again, I've been in the situation where I was going to town on a bracelet trying to get the pin to release. There goes my name. And anyway, I just felt it was like really, again, this, like butter. Anyway, so the other option is, and again, that's only good for one thing though, right? That's the other, and we've looked at something like this, which is going to be good for the two things. You're going to be able to do both the screwed and the friction pin or cotter pin style, like, bracelets for that. Okay. So then there is this case back tool that Horatec makes. I've had this one for a long time. It also has the pins all the way across front and way more sizes than just about any other set we've seen. And you can use the open snapback cases, right? So the idea here is this isn't a snapback case. We'll lay it in like it is. You can put it in here. The two jaws come through on the sides and it pops off the case back if it's a snapback case back. If you're looking for or you're having issues with snapback cases that you're not getting off with just a regular case knife, like this, by hand, this is a really great option, and it will do bracelets, but I find, and I haven't modified this, I guess I could modify it, machine it, I find it a little awkward. So if you were going to use it for that purpose, we would take these guys out, which is the last time I used it, I was using it to get out a bracelet. There is a kind of pin driver attachment that I've got in this side, which will accept all the things down here. And then I can put this, I'm going to take this and just screw it down out of the way. And then we've got a situation where I can take whatever pin I need, drop it in there. And then the way this is worked out with the little kind of cup thing is you kind of fold the bracelet. You can kind of hold it in place like this. I don't know if you see that. It doesn't help my hands in the way. Get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. Okay, so let's take a look. Can we get it? So you kind of fold it over like this. Come on, Colin, you can just, it looks like it's my first rodeo. That's what it looks like. So anyway, so you put it in here, and then how could I make it so you could see that nicely? Do I do it around like this? Oh, maybe that's better. So anyway, so you put it down in here, line up the thing against this Delrin block, and then this thing screws in. Bob's your uncle, pushes out the pin. And there's a hole all the way through there to accept the pin as it comes out. So that is an option. And maybe, and this is the way I did it for a long time, is I would use this, I had it difficult to start it, and I would just go back to the bracelet block. And then that was, and that worked out just fine. So there's an option. Did I give the price on this? What is this? This is the case back. Case back one is the MSA 07.119, $819. So again, it does something a little bit different, and we get another problem solved. And snapping off troublesome case backs is going to be a real issue if you're doing battery changes. Like sometimes they're on there like nobody's business. Like it's terrible. Anyway, so I do use this. It does get to use as a snapback case opener fairly regularly. I've already used it today for somebody to do a battery change. Okay, so we talked about the economy hammer. Got it. Okay, this has got a domed end and a flat end. I only ever use the flat end, but anyway. The other option is you do something like this, which has got like steel on one side and kind of a Delrin. This isn't real Delrin, but it's another economy hammer. It's a little bit lighter. This one is $12. So we've got that as a potential option. And then we start getting into like, okay, what else do we need for like hammers? And then what else are we going to be using the hammers for, depending on like, you know, what else we've got going on. So if we're looking at a like real nice utility watchmaker's hammer, this is probably a good choice. This one is $55, and most of them are in the like $50 to $75 range. But really nice, got a little more weighted feel. But I mean, if you're doing anything else besides just like pushing these little pusher guys, this would be a very useful everyday utilitarian hammer for a watchmaker. In my own kind of bin of stuff outside of the economy thing that I still use this day, so don't forget about this guy. Don't make him lonely. I also have a basic brass hammer. Does it get a super amount of use? Well, I don't know. It's got a fair amount of hits on there. I get sometimes if I'm trying to get this bracelet pin into the watch and this is slipping off, I'll use this. It's brass. I have less chance of like dinging the bracelet, and it's got a lot more surface area, so I'm not gonna like miss the little pin. So anyway, I do use that, and I do have a utilitarian kind of like soft and hard plastic hammer for like me kind of like gently coaxing something into one market. So anyway, that's what I have. Oh, and I have a little guy here. Look at that. I forgot about him. I haven't used him in a while. So like a steel, whatever. Again, like super economy. But again, sometimes, anyway, clearance, you want something smaller. So brass hammer, I definitely use. This is the MSA 04010, and in brass, that's like $51. There's a Delrin version, $65. That's the MSA 04012. And I didn't give you the part number for this one. This is the MSA 04020. So after all that, you should be able to like take out links on a friction pin watch bracelet. I think I've covered it all. Shameless plug, I do have it all on the website. And at any time, if you're looking for something, and it is on the website, let me know. I can order it from like Bergeron or Hortec or whatever. And thanks for listening. This is all shameless plug stuff. I do have a membership for 99 cents a month, which helps me keep going and doing all those sorts of things. I'm sure I've missed something. Anyway, thanks for all your comments and questions. And I try to get back to every one of you. So thanks again, Colin from Watch Off the Cuff. Check out the website, watchoffthecuff.com. And until next time, be well. Cheers.